All right, Rob the Darksider here again. Let's talk a little Jets draft. I see a lot of people are finally catching on and thinking that the Jets have a plan. They're sticking to that plan and that they are enacting it very well, especially this year with free agency, last year's draft, and things of that nature. I also still see a lot of people who think that the Jets are cheap and do not go and spend, and that they kind of, just kind of let the big guys go by while they sign average guys and therefore have an average team. Now, I've been arguing with people on the Jets Uncensored Facebook page, Jets Fans Uncensored, I should say. Been arguing with people for days, and there seems to be a consensus. There's really two trains of thought on this, okay? There's the guys who think the Jets are not doing what they're supposed to do, or at the very least just doing what is logical. And then there's a train of thought of guys that seem to be like me and think the Jets are doing a great job and are excited about what they're doing. Now, this kind of breaks off from being Darksider stuff, because I'm not really being a Darksider, but it's fun to argue with people, so I'll take the opposite end and be the sunny sider in this instance. The Jets are doing things the right way. Things are going well. They signed a safety. They had nobody back there. They signed a corner to give themselves some depth. They signed a tight end, something we haven't had in years. They signed an offensive lineman, something everybody's been screaming for the Jets to go sign. So I don't know what more you maniacs are looking for. I don't know what more you want. They went and filled 4 holes with 4, I'm not going to say top-end free agents, but they're not bad. I mean, this corner is small but hits hard. Apparently, he's pretty well known in Seattle, and Seattle, Seattle fans hate to see him go. The safety on the Bucks has been is he a Pro Bowl or All-Pro? I get them mixed up. Pro Bowl, I know, is fans, and All-Pro is guys in the league. I don't know which one he is. Then you have a guy who's a right guard, Laken Tomlinson, okay? And of course, C.J. Uzoma for the tight end spot. Now, the tight end spot, Jets haven't had a pass-catching guy who can block in a long time. This guy, yes, he's had some injury concerns, but he's good when he's on the field. And the Jets, as I said a million times, the Jets are not going to go break the bank on big guys. Not that there were a lot of big guys to break the bank on this year anyway, but it doesn't matter. They went and got 4 guys to fill 4 holes that they had, and that's less drafting that they have to do. Now they can concentrate on the best player. Obviously, there's clearly going to be an emphasis on the defensive line and or linebacker later in the draft. Defensive line early, a wide receiver perhaps, because they haven't signed a wide receiver yet, although we re-signed Braxton Berrios. My man, Mr. Braxton Berrios. All right, love it. I think it's great. He apparently did give the Jets a hometown discount after swearing he wouldn't. I love it. I love the signing. I love the fact that guy is either our slot guy or our 4th receiver or whatever it is he's going to be. He is a gadget player. He is a weapon, and he kind of solidifies the return game. So at the end of the day, the Jets went and solidified the line. They now have an above-average offensive line. They went and got a tight end that is going to be able to catch balls and block and play in the scheme that the Jets are running. They signed 2 guys in the defensive backfield, which was absolutely brutal last year, and that's on top of the guys who were there from last year who were decent. Now, also what I'm understanding, if I'm understanding it correctly, I should say, what I'm hearing is that these guys have signed with the Jets to be part of Salas' system, and the Jets are looking for a very specific type of player for a very specific type of system, and these guys fit that system. So year 2 with Salah, the plan's coming together. The Jets are putting together a bunch of guys that will play in the system, his guys, and hopefully be a fit for that system. The other thing that I think is really important about this, okay, very important, is that guys are coming here because of Robert Saleh. Guys he used to coach, guys that at one point or another had some kind of tie with him. That is a tremendous difference for the Jets having to overpay or find guys that would use them to go get contracts elsewhere over the past few years. That happened so many times. Kirk Cousins thank God we didn't get Kirk Cousins, but a lot of you maniacs, and that's my new thing, I'm going to call you all lunatics or maniacs, depending on how egregious it is. If you're a lunatic, it's getting bad. If it's a maniac, it's just, standard craziness. So you maniacs wanted Kirk Cousins. He's trash garbage, okay? He used us to get a contract. The same team. It's the Vikings again. Winfield used us to get was it Winfield? No. I'm thinking that's a corner. Who's the linebacker? Anthony something or other used us to get a contract. He actually was ready to sign. I mean, he made the commitment and then changed his mind and went to the Vikings. Smart move by him. We've freaking sucked since then. So Whatever the case is, the Jets for years had no coach that was capable of bringing players here. Salas seems to be able to do that. His former players from the Niners are coming here. Former players he's played with elsewhere are coming here. That to me, even though the results may not have been there last year, that tells me that Salah has the respect of players, and players want to come here to play in his system, and that players believe in the system, because these players are not going to go play for a coach they don't believe in just for the money, especially when, I shouldn't say they don't ever do that. Some of the stars will take a huge contract just for the money because they want to be the highest paid. We're not talking stars here, and that plays exactly into what Joe Douglas does. Joe Douglas will sign second and third tier guys that are still good players. They are not Pro Bowl guys. They're not all pros. They are not superstar studs, but they are good players. They are good depth, and that's exactly what I've been saying, is that he's going to supplement the draft, the draft guys he drafts. God, I can't even speak, with these free agents. His free agents are not going to be 7 years, $100 million contracts with a ton guaranteed. It's just not going to happen. You notice all these guys are 2 and 3 years. 1 year. No, I don't think any of them 1 year. 2 and 3 years. The center, the center we re-signed was 1 year, but all these guys are 2 and 3 years. It's a fair amount of money in some cases, but not breaking the bank. And the guaranteed money is for 1 or 2 years, depending on if it's a 2 or 3 year deal, and we can get out of it. Okay, so he's not going to go and break the bank on big free agents. He's going to fill in depth with good players, guys who fit the system, and give Salah what he needs. And then he's going to draft guys, and then hopefully Salah and his staff are the guys to develop some of these new players that they're drafting. You got a bunch of young guys from last year. You're going to have a whole bunch of new guys from this year. And I'd like to think the Jets are going to be trading a bit. I don't think they want to bring in 9 rookies. I know we have 9 draft picks, but I really think the Jets are going to do some moving around, trade some of these draft picks, maybe get back into the first round for a 3rd pick, maybe package a couple of things and trade back. Trade back into the 2nd round. I think the Jets are going to make some moves and not bring in 9 rookies. It's a nice thought, but you got to pay these guys. There's a limited rookie salary cap. There's also only limited spots on a team. You don't want to draft guys and then have to cut them if they're not good enough. I know you can put them on a practice squad, but I think what the Jets are going to look to do here is trade back into the 1st, maybe, or back into the 2nd, up into the 2nd round, and acquire some higher end talent rather than just stockpiling picks for a bunch of rookies. So that is the direction I feel they're going. As far as the upcoming draft, as I said, it's pretty clear the Jets are going to go heavy on the defensive line and possibly wide receiver in this draft. There's linebackers. So there's going to be a lot of movement for the Jets in some of these areas that they did not address in free agency where they need help. Linebacker, definitely a concern. Wide receiver, I mean, Jets have receivers now. None of them are studs. You got Berrios, who's very good. You got Davis, who's capable of being very good. But I don't think he's ever going to be a stud no matter what. So that leaves Elijah Moore and whether he continues to develop. So, maybe we've got a stud in him. Maybe not. Maybe he's just a 1A, which is great, and the Jets go and get a one in the draft. Rumors about Garrett Wilson at number 10, and he's not a small guy. I'd like to see a little bigger guy personally. I'm not so sure about Drake London. Reading some stuff about him that may not be that favorable. Whatever the case may be, I think the Jets address that there. So the weaknesses are still in the wide receiver. You still got weaknesses. You got some weaknesses in the secondary still, and linebacker, and of course you don't have a pass rusher. So you gotta think big time. If I was a betting man, and I am, don't tell anybody. If I was a betting man, I think that the Jets are going to be going D-line somehow. Now whether they settle for Kayvon Thibodeau, I think that's how we pronounce it. I went and found out. Kayvon Thibodeau. Or they maybe, here's maybe where they trade and get Hutchinson, or they sit back and take one of the other guys later. It's all going to depend on what Douglas sees, what Salah sees, what they feel fits the system they're running, and whether they can develop these guys into what they need. Okay, that's it. I'll be back tomorrow, next day, whichever it is, and I'll talk a little bit more. I think the Jets will probably pick up a couple of low-level guys over the next couple of days. I think the really big signings are done, and then in the next next couple of months there'll be some roster cuts, and they'll see them bring some guys in. They're never done after the first 2 days. There'll be a bunch of signings here and there. So, and the draft is still 6 weeks away. So, plenty of time. Good to see you. Check out the Facebook page, Jets Fans Uncensored. a place for Darksiders. You can check me out, Rob the Darksider, on both Twitter, on all three, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, plus YouTube, which you might be watching it there, or maybe you're listening to the podcast. I am doing a lot of different things for a guy making zero money from this. All right, take care.